So how to get started with Tag Manager. So first things first, you have to create that account. So you're going to go to tagmanager.google.com, or you can do a search for Google Tag Manager, and you're going to create your account. And then when you create your account, what's going to happen is you're going to set up a container. And when you set up a container, you have choices. So you could set it up for your website, for an app on iOS, or maybe Android, or you can even set it up for AMP, an accelerated mobile page. So most people by default are probably going to set up Tag Manager for their website. And so when you do that, when you actually select website, what's going to happen is you're going to get some Google Tag Manager code in return. And so the whole idea here is you're going to do a swap. What you're doing is basically you're saying, okay, Google, I'm going to take this Google Tag Manager code and I'm going to put it on my website. I'm going to put it on every page of my website. So notice Tag Manager has two scripts. One goes in the head as high as possible. The other goes into the body tag as high as possible. And so what you're doing is you're making a deal. You're putting this Tag Manager code on your website, and in return, every code you deal with, whether that be Facebook or analytics or optimize or remarketing or whatever it is going to go in GTM. Okay, it's going to go into the container you created. So you need the Tag Manager code on your website in order for Tag Manager to work. Okay, so when you add this code to your website, then you're free to start adding all sorts of tags to your container. But if you don't have this tracking code on your website, then none of the tags you add to your container are going to work. So that's the idea behind the container. And then one thing I wanted to mention on the account is it's a Google account. So when you create your account, then make sure it's the same account you use with, say, Google Analytics or some other Google product. That's a good best practice, is always use the same email address when you set up your account so that it integrates nicely across all the different platforms. Meaning you can go from, say, Google Analytics right to Google Tag Manager in one browser without having to log out or log in. Okay, so when you create the account, you're going to create your container. If you choose web, then you're going to be asked to place code on your website. And when you place that code on your website, then you are free to start using Tag Manager. And that means you're free to start adding tags. Okay, so if you want to know more information about installing Google Tag Manager, then what I would recommend is visit the Quick Start Guide website of GTM. So again, if you're curious as to where that code is located in Google Tag Manager, well, when you create an account and you create a container, that container is going to have a specific ID. So if I click on that specific ID, here's where I can get my code. Okay, so again, when I'm logged in to Tag Manager, I'm going to click on Workspace, but in the top navigation, I'm going to see my unique GTM ID. If I click on that, that's where my code is going to be located. And so again, your code needs to go in the header, and there's another script that needs to go in the body. And if you're not sure how to add the code to your website, well, you can always click on the Quick Start Guide here. Okay, and that'll take you to a Quick Start Guide page, a reference page related to Google Tag Manager. So let's talk about creating a tag. So once you get Tag Manager installed, I'm sure you're excited to get going and create that first tag. So let's talk about how to create a tag in Tag Manager. So when you're in Tag Manager, all you need to do is basically you're looking at all your tags. If you click on tag in the left side navigation, you'll see all your tags, and there's a new button there. So you just click new. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to create your first tag. And so what I would recommend, once you get Tag Manager installed on your website, I would recommend setting the first tag up as Google Analytics. So that will get you going with tracking page views on your website when somebody visits your website. Okay, so ideally that's what you want to do. You want to get Google Analytics as your first tag in Tag Manager. So what I'm going to do is, because Analytics is a Google product, it's already integrated nicely with Tag Manager. So I'm just going to click on Google Analytics. It's going to be a page view. That's what I'm tracking. And now I have to set up a variable. And so what it's going to do, it's going to ask me to select a variable. And so what you're going to do is you're going to select new variable. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to go and add your tracking ID here. That's going to be your variable. So where do I get my tracking ID in analytics? Well, if I'm in analytics, I'm going to go to admin. And then under property settings, I'm going to see my tracking ID. And all you need to do then is go to tag manager and paste copy. First, you got to copy over that tracking ID. Then you're going to go to tag manager and going to paste it. And then that's going to create a variable for you. And then when you create that variable, you're going to see it in the drop down here. So I've already created it. And basically, that's your tag with a variable. Then what are you going to do? You're going to set up a trigger. So see, I have some triggers already set up. You're going to see a default trigger already set up for you, and that's going to be all pages. So ideally what you want to do is you want to select all pages in order for analytics to fire on all pages. So that's what we're doing. We're setting up a trigger. We're basically telling tag manager, hey, if I get a visitor to any page on my website, then I want you to fire Google Analytics. So that's basically, in summary, how to set up your first tag. And my recommendation is your first tag should be Google Analytics. And when you set up analytics, you're going to have to set up a variable for the tracking ID. And so you get the tracking ID again from admin, property settings, copy and paste that tracking ID over, save it. You have your variable. That variable is going to be included in with the tag. Then your trigger is going to be all pages. And there you go. You have your first tag, you have your first variable, you have your first trigger. So that's basically what you want to do. And once you've added that tag, once you've added that trigger, then the only thing you need to do now is basically publish the tag. And so anytime you save a tag, you're going to go ahead and submit it so that way it gets published. So again, what you're going to do is let's take a step back here. You're going to choose new tag. You're going to choose analytics from the drop down menu. You're going to choose page view. Then basically you're going to add your tracking ID so you can set up the variable. And then basically that's what you need to do. Okay, you're going to add that tracking ID and then voila, that's your tag with a variable. And then once you've done that, then you're going to click submit. So when you click submit, you're basically saying, hey, I want this tag to go live now, this tag and trigger. And once you've done that, then analytics is ready to go. And anytime somebody goes to your website on any page, Tag Manager is going to fire Google Analytics. So the great thing here is you have something called Google Tag Assistant, and that's an extension that works with Chrome. And so when you've actually added Tag Manager to your site, or you have analytics running in Tag Manager, you can confirm if those tags are firing properly. So let's take a look at how Google Tag Assistant works. Okay, so if you just do a search for Google Tag Assistant, you're going to see here that it's basically just an extension that works in Chrome, and unfortunately it only works in Chrome browser. It doesn't work in any other browser. So go ahead and install that extension into Chrome. And when you do that, you're going to see this nice icon here in your browser. And now, if you go to any website and I click on Google Tag Assistant and I click on Enable, okay, so basically I'm loading Google Tag Assistant. And now once I refresh the page, I can see that this particular site has Google Tag Manager installed. And not only does it have Tag Manager installed, I can see that it's also has Google Analytics running. I have also Google Optimize running, and I have Google Ads Remarketing Tag running in Tag Manager. So that's what Tag Assistant does. It allows you to see if one, Tag Manager is on the site, and if it is, great, what other tags are firing on this particular site. So Tag Assistant's telling me I have these particular tags firing on that site, and they're firing within Tag Manager. So Tag Assistant is a great way to confirm if one, Tag Manager is on the site, and two, what other tags are firing on the site. Now, another way you could confirm if Tag Manager is firing on the site is you can go into preview mode. So even before you submit and publish your tag and trigger, you can click on the preview mode. So if I click preview in Tag Manager, so basically that's going to put me in preview mode. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that now I'm free to go to my website and see if those tags are firing. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I go to the website and just click refresh, then what's going to happen is Tag Manager is going to load in preview mode, just as you see here. Okay, so that's going to take a couple seconds to load up. And now what can I see in preview mode? I could see that I have GTM firing, but I also have some other tags firing on this page. Remarketing, I have Google Analytics, I have Google Optimize. I have some other tags firing as well. And so the preview mode shows me what tags are firing on any given page. And I can also see what tags did not fire. Okay, so here I have a number of tags already in GTM, but they didn't fire on this particular page. So let's just say I clicked on the Donate Now button. I'm still in preview mode, so I'm going to be able to see what tags fired. Now I could see I have a couple of tags that have fired on this particular page. And then I could see what tags did not fire on this page. Okay, so that's the preview mode. You can use the preview mode before you even submit a tag and trigger to see if it fires. And that's the great benefit of Tag Manager. So if you're not sure if something's going to fire or not, then you can always go into preview mode. And if you are sure it's going to fire, then you can go ahead and submit it. So you can leave preview mode and just go ahead and submit that particular tag and trigger. So here I'm going to leave preview mode. And now once I'm done and I'm sure the tag is going to fire, and go ahead and submit all my changes that I've worked on in terms of setting up tags and triggers. So that's really GTM in a nutshell. So I have my tags, okay? My tags are just snippets of code that I'm going to put in, whether that be Facebook or event tracking or any other Google product like Optimize or Page View. Then I have my triggers. My triggers are there to tell GTM when to fire that tag. And the variables are there to help those tags and triggers work together. So remember that particular variable we set up for Google Analytics. Okay, so here it is right here, because we want to tell GTM what property to specifically fire in Google Analytics. So that's why we set up that variable. But there are all sorts of variables. Google Tag Manager has built in, or variables already created for you, or you can specifically define a variable. So variables are there to help the tags and triggers work together. So when you set up a tag, you set up a trigger, you use a variable, you can always go into preview mode, preview it by going to the website, seeing if it fires. If it fires, then voila, you can go ahead and click submit, and that will publish the tag and trigger, and you're good to go. That's pretty much how Tag Manager works. And again, I can't stress that there's an unlimited number of tags you can add to Tag Manager. There's no limit. So you got anything from Google to non-Google to event tracking, okay? To Facebook, to anything that you want to track, you want to be able to put into Tag Manager. And again, there's versioning. That's one of the great benefits of Tag Manager. So if I want to go back to an older version, I can simply do that. So here you can see I'm on version 32. That's how Tag Manager works. And I can't stress that, Tag Manager is there to help you track interactivity on the site. Because if you have a site that's interactive, that has a video, that has a download button, let's just say, you have all sorts of newsletter signups, Facebook, YouTube buttons on your website, just like this website does, and you want to be able to track how many people click on that particular button, well, you're going to need Tag Manager. And when you have Tag Manager, you're going to be able to track all of these button clicks and interactivity on your website.